What's up? What's going on? I didn't read. Hope you guys are doing good. Well, that's a much better word. I got a stack of books here. I'm going to show them off. We call it a book haul. Here we go. I picked up these first two for free at one of the local libraries. This one is Thomas Mann, Joseph and His Brothers. It's 4 books retelling the story of Genesis. And I didn't know that this book existed. It's not very popular or well known, especially compared to his other books like what is it, The Magician in the Mountain, and it's like a Merchant in Venice, I think. And I haven't read anything from this author, but honestly, this would be the most interesting one personally to me. So we'll see. I know there's a lot shorter ones I could read. I actually did read something by him quite some time ago about a guy and his dog. I don't remember what the name of the story was, but I enjoyed it. Thomas Mann, Joseph and His Brothers, retelling of Genesis. Look into it. Yeah, not widely read. I don't know why his other stories would be so popular, and you would think that would, I don't know, be more considered. Have to look more into that. This one was also free, but this one was torn up. Yeah, and I looked online to make sure it wasn't worth money to somebody. North of 36, Emerson Hugh, which is a Western, early Western. This book is from 1926. Something got as a Christmas present. Miss Watson. Way back in 1926, excuse me. And I think this is the one that has photos from the silent movie that was made. Yeah, it does. It's kind of cool. And so North of 36, I guess, had a silent movie made about it. And from the little bit that I read, that kind of kicked off, it was like a success, and kind of encouraged people to make more Western films. And oh boy, did they make a lot of them. So North of 36, I'm definitely going to read this one. I got a little bit more work to do, but yeah, I recovered this book for sure. This was all just blown out. I just used normal Elmer's glue and a toothpick. Just filled it up with glue, pushed it back together. I got quite a few books like that I've managed to save. Okay. Moving right along. I picked up some Goosebumps. I got The Blob That Ate Everyone. I remember reading this one. This will be fun. And then I got another Choose Your Own Adventure. This one is Scream of the Evil Genie. Why not, right? One day I might read it. I'm sure I will. I don't see why I wouldn't. Let's see. This is Maid Marian in the Crochet Castle. I don't know. I see King Arthur stuff, and I usually pick it up. Or like fictions with knights. Any of this like kind of romantic, chivalrous stuff. I like. Anyway. Yeah. I have to look into that. I don't know too much about that one. I picked up some other books by this author, and it seems like she writes like really down to earth kind of Western accounts. Willa Cather, Lost Lady. Yeah, so I'll add this to the collection. Now I have 3, so anytime now. Start reading them. Let you know. A little bit different, perspective. The masterpiece of Steinbeck's later years, a vastly ambitious novel that is at once a family saga and a modern retelling of the Book of Genesis. Oh, that's pretty fitting because I just had the one from Thomas Mann, East of Eden. I didn't know that about this book. And I pointed it to my girlfriend. I was like, I have a copy of this, right? She said no. And I didn't. So, yeah. Here's my reading copy. It's a good one. It'll look like I've been, really aggressively reading it. This never even happens to a book that I'm reading. With the exception of one. I have one book that's pretty torn up. That is my fault, but it took me a long time to read that book. All right. The Way to Rainy Mountain. N. Scott Momaday. Don't know. But it's like recountings, I guess, of the old different Native American. I don't think different. I think these are all from like a Plains tribe. Yeah, I guess like their Genesis story and just like different gods, and I don't know much about it. The spiritual world of the native desert culture. And it says it's printed from University of New Mexico, so yeah, that's fitting. It has these nice illustrations. And like I was saying previously in the previous video about the Texas Rangers, it's nice to have a bit of historical background and like, oh, it's good to know what were the people eating, what were they, what were they thinking, what were they wearing, the spirituality, and all these kinds of stuff that we kind of take for granted, and it makes up the setting. So just nice to have. And yeah, here's another one in that kind of realm. Some young adult fiction, Lawrence Yep, The Traitor, which follows the story of this Chinese immigrant family in the West. I don't know much about it, but yeah. All types of people out West. That's a cool thing. You never know who's going to show up on horseback. All right. I don't know if there's any horses in these books, but it would be cool if there is. We'll have to find out. I'm not that big into fantasy, to be honest. It's not that I don't like it. It's just the kind of fantasy that I like to read isn't really... It's not the kind of fantasy that... I don't know, people really identify with fantasy. So I like Sword and Planet, sometimes Sword and Sorcery. Sometimes they call it... what do they call it? Planetary Romance. I like all this kind of stuff. But it's not... It's like far away from anything like Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings or something like that. But I'm always interested to try to find something to read, either sci-fi or, like I was saying, fantasy, because I like these genres, but I don't like the hard sci-fi or whatever the equivalent for fantasy would be. So this author, he writes fantasy and he writes science fiction, and I believe these books are like sword and sorcery kind of deals, so we'll see. It's kind of an undertaking. I was surprised to find this. The Great Book of Amber, Chronicles 1 through 10, and I have a couple paperbacks. I might even have 2 or 3 of the first book. I have to look around if anybody is interested in starting to read The the Great Book of Amber. The first one is 9 Princes of Amber, so it's not short. There's 10 books in here. I don't know much about I don't know much about the story. It's the author that I'm mostly interested in, so I'm kind of set in my mind to read this. We'll see. I picked it up for, I don't know, what was it, $1 because it's a paperback? A lot of reading for $1. So that's what's going on in the world of book hauls. I think I'm gonna put a bit of a pause on the book haul videos. I'll keep buying books, but just for the sake of making different stuff and talking about different things, it's just getting a little bit repetitive. But I enjoy it. It's fun for me. Sometimes I find a cool bookmark. Maybe Faceless would like this one. Alright guys, until next time, find something to read, find somewhere to hide. Peace.